Welcome to another episode of the Swish Show. As always, I'm your host, Ryan Tuckwood. Today's guest is a former professional athlete of 15 years, of which I'm sure many of our listeners will be well aware. He's now retired and focusing his time and energy in the mental health space within the corporate and community areas to create positive mental health in the workplace. He's also an extremely proud father of 3 girls, which I'm sure is keeping him busy, and the founder of the I in Team. And I found out a fellow Gold Coaster, I believe. So correct me if I'm wrong. Mr. Darius Boyd, how are you, sir?
Yeah, good. Thanks for having me on. Yeah, I'm a fellow Gold Coaster, born and raised. So always get back to the coast, which is nice.
I don't know if in all the episodes that I've done, I've ever had a genuine Gold Coaster on. Obviously, I'm not. I'm from a place called Leicester in the UK. You might have heard of Leicester Tigers, I'm assuming, at some stage
Yeah,
in your
definitely.
journey.
Yeah.
So that's my hometown, mate. But you're a Gold Coast boy. And we might start there because it makes a little bit of sense. As I was doing a bit of professional stalking and research into you, it said that you were fortunate to live out your childhood dream playing rugby league. So give us some context. Give us a little bit about your background and your childhood, if you will.
Yeah, I was born and raised at the Gold Coast. Pretty small family. Never met my father and no siblings. So it's small family. But yeah, I suppose rugby league was something that I was put into when I was 6 or 7 years old, and I really loved it. And kind of gave me that excitement and enjoyment for the weekend. It's probably a bit of a culture, teammate environment too. Maybe even father figures as coaches, all those type of things. So it really gave me something to look forward to and enjoy. I wasn't the best growing up, to be honest. I made my local rep teams. I never made Queensland, Australian rep teams, anything like that. Not until my final year of high school, was able to make those 2 teams and got a scholarship with the Broncos. And it kind of just happened really fast. The last 12, 18 months, kids were getting scholarships at 14 and 15, as they still do today. And I was a bit of a late bloomer, but it ended up working out well. Went up to Brisbane and met Wayne Bennett and gave me a crack, and the rest is history, I guess. So, a bit of a challenging upbringing in different ways, but really enjoyed my time at the coast, and then to be able to go to Brisbane, not far down the road, up the highway. So it all worked out really well.
Yeah, you touched on something quite pertinent in there. You said you never met your father, and then you said you almost attached to some coaches as father-like figures. How important was that at the time, or did you recognize the importance of it at the time of finding that father figure, or is it now only looking back retrospectively you see the importance of those coaches around you to kind of get you in the right direction or a direction?
Yeah, I think it's only when you really look back. I mean, when I was a young kid, you probably don't understand, but I look back and think, well, that's probably why I enjoyed a team sport, because I was an only child. Had some family members pass away, male role models in my life pass away, not knowing my father. So I didn't have I had a tiny family. My mum and my grandmother was kind of it, really. So to be able to go to a team environment, being around leaders, coaches, other teammates, friends, brothers, I guess, then I feel like that's why I really enjoyed the team aspect of sport, and rugby league happened to be, I was pretty good at it as well. So that was a bonus. I did athletics. I did a bit of cricket. I did martial arts, a couple of things I was terrible at, so I didn't go back much. But rugby league was my thing. And I think that when I look back, and I think what you get out of team sport, and having male father figures, role models, mentors as coaches, and that's in any aspect in life, I guess. But for me, it was rugby league. I look back now, I think that's probably what drew me to the game as well as a whole, not just the sport itself.
Yeah, sure. And so your mum took you to league training as a kid, or was that push from you, or where did it come from?
Yeah, I'm not too sure. I mean, I started when I was about 6 or 7, and maybe just trying something as a sport. And that's what do you put girls play? Girls play netball and boys play football. I guess it's kind of that. There's obviously a lot of different sports, but it's kind of just you trial a couple of things. Like I said, I tried cricket and other things, athletics. But football was my thing I really enjoyed, and I seemed to be best at it. But I started at an early age. I started rugby union first, actually, and it was 2-hand touch around the waist, which I didn't like. Wanted to play tackle, so the following year I moved into rugby league, and then never looked back.
That's why. Obviously, I'm a Leicester boy, so the Tigers the Leicester Tigers were always fighting with the Leicester City Football Club, which is my my team, which is soccer. Obviously, I'm not built like you, so I'm not a rugby player. But with that journey then that you've been on, you said that you're a bit of a late bloomer. Were there any stages where you thought, I'm not going to make this, or this maybe isn't for me?
Oh yeah, probably the whole time, to be honest.
Wow.
Like I said, especially when I went to a rugby league school midway through year 10, so I changed high schools to a rugby league excellence, Palm Beach, Currumbin, the Gold Coast, and to further my rugby league and get more training and skill around it. High excellence rugby league school, so I thought I want to do everything possible to give myself the best chance. Like I said earlier, there was kids that were 14, 15 that had scholarships to different clubs down in Sydney or Brisbane or whatnot. The Gold Coast didn't have a team at that point when I was coming in my later years of high school. So I thought, if I'm not even the best in my age group, what am I going to be like when it's it's a free for all, any age, open competition in the NRL? How am I going to make that? So but I wanted to leave no stone unturned. So I knew that I guess I could have no regrets that I gave it every opportunity. I trained really hard. I worked hard, and if I wasn't good enough, I wasn't good enough. But at least I could rest knowing that I gave it every opportunity. So I trained really hard, worked really hard, and maybe I just needed the extra 12, 18 months to grow into my body, because like I said, that last 12 months of school gave me that opportunity to play for Queensland and Australian schoolboys. Brisbane gave me a 1-year contract to go up to Brisbane, and that's kind of all I needed after that.
Yeah, wow. Okay, well, and then without fast forwarding too far, you ended up playing 300 NRL games, 28 Origin games, like the elite of the elite. Like that obviously comes with a lot of pressure and a lot of stress. Before I go too far into that side of things, I want to understand, if there is one, the difference between NRL games and Origin games. Like how much more pressure is there in an Origin game, if there is?
Yeah, it's there is and there isn't. I think I've said this a lot. Every level you jump up, the people around you are better, so it's easier, if that makes sense. When everyone else is better at their job, it makes your job easier. So obviously from the Queensland Cup level, then it goes NRL, and you got State of Origin, you got Test match, playing for your country. So it's harder, it's faster, it's more scrutinised, there's more eyeballs, there's more media. But at the same time, you're playing with better players around you, so it kind of gets easier as well. So the pressure and expectation probably gets bigger. That's probably one challenge. And I think you see the difference between players that play at Queensland Cup level to Test level, whether there might not be much difference in skill, but it might be the mental side of the game, or it might be their professionalism towards how they treat their body towards the game, or the difference between people that play 12 months or 2 years at the highest level that play 10 years is probably being able to repeat that over and over again, to make sacrifices, to do the little things well, stretching, ice baths, not go to that party and drink alcohol, or not eat cake at a birthday, all that type of stuff. Just the sacrifice you have to consistently make for a long period of time. I think that's the difference. For me personally, I wasn't the most talented kid growing up, but I wanted it really bad, and I think that's what held me in good stead to have a long, successful career.
The one percenters, right? So in that scenario, then, so you said it's not necessarily the skill set, because everybody brings you up anyway. It's more the mental game. Do they prepare you for it? Like when you're coming in for your first Origin game, or even first few, do you get pulled aside? Is there anybody talking to you saying, hey, there's a bit of a different challenge here? What's happening within the game?
Not really, and I think that's one place where I'm passionate about that mindset and mental health space. I think it's really important. And you'd think 2021, you'd think you'd be all over this stuff in professional sports, but in my opinion, I don't really think we are. And I was lucky that I had good coaches that understood people, whether it was Wayne Bennett at the Broncos, and I went to a lot of clubs with him, or I had Mel Meninga in State of Origin and Test match football as well. Those kind of guys, they weren't so much coaches around game plan and strategy. They were more coaches around motivation and mentoring. And I think that's, end of the day, we all, there's a salary cap. You'll get paid the same amount of money. You do the same training. Everything's pretty similar from place to place. But it's how often can you be at your best every time you turn up to play or turn up to training? And what kind of culture and environment are you put in each and every week? And that's, I think, what's most important. I think that's something that it's not spoken about or pushed enough in rugby league in particular. I reckon I probably could say it's the same in other sports, but I was lucky enough to be with good coaches that understood that side of it, that pushed it themselves. It was driven within, but yeah, I think there's a lot to be said in those spaces for sure.
Yeah, wow, okay. Because we used to call them man managers. I don't know if we can call them man managers anymore, but you get the gist. So there's people that know when to put an arm around your shoulder or when to give you a kick up the arse. And if that's not really been trained, I guess, for want of a better phrase, obviously the managers have their coaching ability. They have they know technically what to talk about, but they're not taught how to deal with individual personas within a squad. Does that mean that the whole conversation around mental health in elite sport is still quite under the surface, do you think?
Yeah, I do. I mean, every club has wellbeing officers and a lot of support, career coaches and different things, but it's got to be, in my opinion, it's got to be driven from the top, from the head coach, because you can have these people on the side that can, hand out, fancy letters and help you with this and put you onto the right people, but it's got to be driven. It's got to be a part of the building. It's got to be part of the fabric. You got to walk into that building and go, this is the standard, this is the culture, and this is what is expected.
Yeah.
And if the head coach, puts an arm around you, cares, wants you to be better as a human being, then it's going to work, because that's the person at the end of the day that whatever he or she says goes. So I think it's really important. I think it's something that professional sports, and you have to watch the Olympics that's just gone to understand that there's plenty of challenges in professional sports with mental health and well-being, and the highs are high and the lows are extremely low, and the expectation, pressure, social media, money, there's so many things that come with it. So there's more and more importance to the mental health side of it, and the individual understanding what works for you, strategies that help you get through certain situations, building resilience, all that type of stuff. I think everyone's so good at what they do in different fields, whether it's in the sporting field or in the workforce, but how often are you taught the tips and strategies to build resilience or get through some setbacks? And if you're always successful, you've never had to go through hardship, then you're only one hardship away from probably a mental breakdown. That's what you probably see a lot of the times, and it's played out in the public eye with sports people in particular, but it happen everywhere in every workforce.
Yeah, it's a really good point. It's in the public eye, right? And you obviously been through this back in 2014, and quite well publicized that you took a break from the game for was it a year, for a good few months, or how long did you take?
It was. I went to a mental health facility for 3 weeks, but when I left there, my plan, I originally just thought I wasn't really sure why I was going, but I knew I needed some help and support, and I thought I'd go there for 2 weeks and then come back to rugby league, and everything would be happy daisy, and my life would be changed. But obviously that was unrealistic, so I went there for 3 weeks, and then one of my plans was not to return to rugby league for the rest of the year. My psychologist at the time that I was in the clinic just kind of said rugby league had been a bit of it was my escape, but it was also my undoing as well. It's just kind of that unrealistic world of sports, and the media, the criticism, setbacks, injuries, challenges that come with it was a part of the problem. So it was kind of masking my real thoughts and emotions. So I just needed to have a break from the game, work on myself away from rugby league, work on my family, work on my own well-being, make sure that when I did return that I was in a really good, happy, healthy headspace, that, whenever, again, criticism, media, injuries come along, which they do, that I'm, more equipped to deal with it.
So you said there you just thought you're going to go for 3 weeks, come out, and you'll be all right. What were the triggers or the cues, if you don't mind going there, like, so other people can kind of spot that they might need a little bit of help? Was there something obvious for you where you I need to go and talk to somebody?
Yeah, I felt like I had 10 things to talk about, and I was seeing a psychologist at the time, but probably once a month when I could fit in my schedule for an hour, and I felt like I had 10 things to talk about in that 1 hour, but once a month, it just wasn't enough. But I was, rugby league was my be all end all. I had that was number one, and everything else in my life was number two. So that was a big danger sign, warning sign right there, because once rugby league wasn't going well, I wasn't playing well, I was injured, or criticism, or the team was struggling, then my whole life come crashing down, So definitely having your work or your job ahead of family and your support network is definitely a sign. My other one was just not enjoying what I was doing anymore. So whether it was turning up not late, but just one of the last ones to turn up to football training, one of the first ones to leave. After a game, if we lost on a Friday night, we wouldn't leave the house. Just isolating myself, withdrawing from friends and activities. Those type of things. Really, just a bit of self-sabotage, but almost trying to punish myself for if I didn't play a good game. Well, not allowed to leave the house until go back to training Monday. Then I'll still be kicking stones on Monday from the game on Friday. Just that negative cycle, and it just wasn't getting any better. I didn't have a good support network around me. Didn't have any gratitude in my life. So there's a couple of things, but there's some pretty big warning signs there as well.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I'm sure anybody listening right now in business or sport will recognize a few of them. Like I definitely didn't play elite level football or soccer, but I know that if I lost a game on a Friday or a Saturday, that's me done for the weekend. It used to genuinely really get me down, and I wasn't in the public eye, and I certainly wasn't playing at the level you were playing at or anywhere close. How did that impact then, like the family life? Like you said that rugby league was number one, and then everything else kind of came in at number two, and from there, like, do you think the people outside you recognize these triggers before you did? Were people saying, "Hey, look, something needs to change"?
Yeah, well, definitely. Like my wife was the closest one to me, and she was the one that kind of pushed me into seeing a psychologist for a couple of years prior to me going to the clinic. And that was I didn't really want it. I will kind of it was kind of like, why is she doing this? Why does she want me to? What's wrong with me? Why is she pushing me into it? And that was obviously I was never going to get anything out of it when I didn't have the right mindset to want the help. So that was just she could obviously see it, and I think some of my closest people to me knew that I was probably a prickly character, in a nice way to put it. Sometimes, I was pretty hard to deal with in certain occasions. I was pretty shy, closed off, didn't trust a lot of people, didn't open up a lot. But a lot of people probably just thought, that's him. That's just the way he is. And again, this was 7 years ago now. That mental health, still a lot of stigma around it, a lot of discussion around it. But I mean, it wasn't spoken about a lot 7 years ago as much as it is today. So again, that was probably, and then my other part to that, I guess, is I didn't have a lot of support or people around me either. I had a couple of close friends. My grandmother was back at the Gold Coast. I was in Newcastle at the time. She was starting to struggle with dementia, and I was looking at getting into some aged care living. I lost contact with my mum because when I was 15, she was diagnosed with major depression. So she left at 15, left home, moved in with my grandmother for those last few years of school. And me and my grandmother was, definitely didn't understand mental health at that point. Neither did I. So we both cut her off. So I lost contact with her for about 8 years. So it was really my wife, probably 4 or 5 close friends, and my football team or my coach was probably the only people that I really spent much time with or would really understand ins and outs of me as a person.
Yeah, wow. There was. I tried to think, then as you were saying that, I was trying to imagine my wife coming up to me and saying, "I think you need to talk to somebody, or like see a psychiatrist, or go to a retreat, or whatever." And I'm like, I don't know how I would take that. Like being on the other side of that, receiving that message. Is there any sort of advice you can give anybody that maybe sees the signs in somebody else on how to approach it, like how to bring up, I don't know if you can, how would you bring up the conversation?
Yeah, I think that's the most important part. I think just, you can't be in a push, not saying my wife was, but you can't be in a push. It can't be like a push. It can just be, I'm here. I care about you. I've noticed there's changes in you, not that, maybe do you think talking would help? Just, I think a really nice listening type, calm way to do it. I think if you're really pushing, I think, or if it gets into an argument, obviously no, but just being as calm and supportive as possible, and opening up the possibility to maybe talk to someone or see someone. If they shut it down, then you go, that's fine. I'm always here and always just want the best for you. Just a really supportive listening type way of talking. And I think at the end of the day, because if they don't want the help, it doesn't matter if you push them into it, they're not going to get what they need out of it.
Yeah, 100%. And with the Iron Team, then what you founded last year, was it?
Yeah, late last year. Yeah.
And you're going into, is it the sporting world and business to work on this?
Yeah, we were anywhere really, to be honest. I do a lot of work through schools for the Broncos at the moment as well. But I was doing, ever since I left the clinic, one of my, talk about empathy a lot and giving back and helping others. One of my goals was to do exactly that. And whether that was rugby league wise, as far as, drills and sign some autographs, or go down to my local school, my former school, or former junior rugby league club at the Gold Coast, Mudgeeraba Redbacks, doing some footy clinics or signing autographs, whatever it was. Or on the other hand, once I got a bit more comfortable and so I was opening up and talking about well-being, mental health, resilience, all that type of stuff, was doing some of the mental health side of things and workshops. So I was, last probably 6 or 7 years I've been doing that anyway. Originally I was doing it with another mate, and we called it Battling the Blues. Doing that for, again, that was through junior rugby league clubs, schools, some organisations as well. That was really good and really enjoyed it. It's basically the same as the Iron Team, but I just thought the Iron Team, just to frame it a bit better and a bit of a spin on things, instead of being Battling the Blues, which was a bit more really focused on the mental health side of things. The Iron Team is more just about, very similar. It's a focus on the mental health side of it and being the best individual you can be for any team, whether that's your work team or your relationship team, with your wife or husband or your daughter or your son.
Yeah, any
team. But I thought it'd be better and more beneficial to work as far as looking at other parts to that as well. So it's the mental health side, but then it's we talked about before, culture, experience, leadership, in teams as well, and in workforces or sporting teams, whatever. So it's not so much just a mental health focus, but it's a mental health focus for the individual, and then how that individual can perform best in the team. So that's kind of changed the name a little bit, but yeah, it's like I've been doing a lot of this work more so for my own mental health, a bit of my own care plan, I guess, is to give back, help others to know that when I was playing rugby league, that if I didn't have a good game or I played team didn't win or whatever, that's okay. I wouldn't be happy about that, but I'm more than just Darius rugby league player. Had more to value, more to contribute to myself and the community, and that's why I originally started it. And now I've just really enjoyed giving back, helping others, telling my story. So if I can keep doing that, then I'd love to do so.
Yeah, amazing. And have you found? I imagine there's a journey of like, when you first go through some mental health challenges that you don't want to talk about it, we close up. But then also now you said earlier, you got to a stage where you feel comfortable sharing it. Is it quite cathartic to actually talk about it? And when you see a room of individuals that are, yeah, that's me, I hear exactly what you're going through. Is that kind of how you feel?
Yeah, well, I think everyone's got a story, So whenever I do go and speak, everyone's got a story, and it relates to them, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. It's individual, and it means something to you because it's your story. So people can relate to different things. And whenever I do talk, people might say, "Oh, you had the same upbringing. I've never met so and so," or "Yeah, this happened to me," or I could really relate to that part of it. So everyone can relate in different ways, but being vulnerable and open and honest, it's good for your own soul. I think when you own your own story, that it is what it is. Whether you are proud of things or you wish you could take things back, end of the day, it's your story. When you own it, I feel like you can have peace with it. There's things I'm not proud of in my past, and different ways I've acted or treated people, but that is what it is, and that was my journey. It's something that I needed to go through to get to where I am today. And I think when you can be vulnerable and open up, I think it's a special feeling, not only for yourself but for anyone that is listening, that they can understand that, hey, I can relate to that, and that's I'm not happy with this, but there's ways to get out of it and move forward. And I think that's what it's all about.
Yeah, for sure. And if we look at what you said earlier about it's not spoken about enough in league or in elite sport, like, how would you do it? Like, how would you structure it? Is there there's a wellbeing officer in there? Are they available every day? Is it enforced? It's compulsory, just like jumping into an ice bath every day you go and speak to this person, or at least once a week you go and have a chat with them? Like, what would you recommend? Or what are you?
Yeah, it's hard, I think. Yeah, it's hard. I think I know I can only speak for the clubs that I've been around and involved in. I'm still involved with the Broncos, so their wellbeing officer's amazing. He's a great guy and he does a great job. I'm not sure. I've been to a couple other clubs, so I realised years ago that each club's different. This level of professionalism isn't the same, so I can't speak on what other clubs are doing. But I know they all have wellbeing officers and career coaches. But for me personally, I genuinely think it comes down to the leadership of the club, whether that's CEO, head coach, football managers, or general manager. So I feel like these people need to have a good understanding of people, and what it takes to run a group of young men, from player number one who's earning seven figures to player 35 as a kid out of school that's gets a pair of boots and a training kit, and that's about it. And they range from married men with kids to a kid out of school that might have a broken family or a relationship breakdown. So how do you relate to all of them? How do you bring them into a good culture and environment?
Yeah,
and maybe that's some training for those different staff members. Like I said, I think I said it before, but it surprised me that we're in 2021 and there's a lot of this stuff that still goes not unnoticed, but just it isn't as in my opinion, it's such a big part of sports and just getting the best out of people. And it still goes unnoticed in different ways. I think 5 coaches in the NRL last year got sacked. And it's quite surprising to me. And I'm probably biased because I've been with Wayne Bennett a lot of my career, but he's the best at getting the best out of individuals and people. He runs a good, his game plans are simple in the rugby league world, but it's more importantly about he cares about his players on and off the field. He can have an honest conversation, whether that's promoting you or dropping you. He cares about what you're doing off the field, and he runs a good stable ship, as far as culture, leadership, standards. And then after that, the football side of it's easy. The work's easy, whatever workforce that's in. But if you don't have that base, that standard, that grounding, and that the leader that's running the show, then I think that's going to be cause for concern.
Yeah, interesting. And look, what about through COVID, mate? Like look at the Warriors. Have been here since what? They've been here since January, kind of locked away, or can't get back home. Like that has to increase that pressure or that sort of the mental challenges being away from family for that long. I don't know if you're obviously still involved with the Bronx, but are you seeing it? Are you hearing about it without naming names?
Oh, it's huge. Yeah, I think one of my good mates is the wellbeing officer at the Warriors. He was actually the wellbeing officer at the Broncos when I first came back in end of 2014-15 season. So we chat about this all the time, and he's great at his job. So he's the Warriors are lucky to have him, and he's been around for a while. But it's definitely a challenge. There's already players that have already gone back home early just because there's family members at home, there's partners having babies, there's all different types of stuff. And end of the day, it's rugby league's just a game. It's what you do and what you love, but it won't be there forever. And friends, family, your support network is what's things that are your rock, I guess. And so it's definitely a challenge. I know they're doing a couple of different things to try and I know the NRL has been great at with looking after the Warriors and trying to get their families over and supporting and all that. But it's not the same. It's such a hard, and it's hard to talk about it as well. As far as I suppose. One hand, you'd be grateful that rugby league still played and there's a game and you've got money income coming on. You can't be too coming on here saying, "Oh, it's terrible," and other people lost their jobs and have don't know where the next meal is, or in New South Wales in 10-12 week lockdown. So there's can't be too critical, but at the same time, again, what I said before, everyone's situation is different and individual to them. But it's when rugby league isn't going well. Or any workforce is you're struggling and you can't even go home and see family, or you're in a bubble, or you're locked down. That makes things a lot tougher. Yeah,
like you just said then, everybody's situation is different and unique to them. And I remember I had, and you're good friends with Casey Lyons at Living as well as are we as partners of Living. And I think it was Sam Webb that I had on this show, and he said to me that when people are going through depression or mental health challenges, even if you are also going through depression, you don't understand what the other person going through depression is going through. It's not like we've both got depression, so we understand each other. It's totally unique to everybody. And I found that really quite interesting. And then when I, what I also liked when I was doing my research into you is like, you've got the life experience. And obviously there's pros and cons to that of you can respect where people are coming from, not necessarily understand how they're feeling, but you've also got the academics as well. Like you've done a lot of study over the last few years into psychiatry and mental health programs. You've got wellbeing programs, mental health first aid, and you're doing a diploma of counseling, I believe as well. Like how important is that academic side of things for you to make sure that when you're working or facilitating, it's got both life experience and academic experience?
Yeah, I think that's an important part. It is to me in particular. I mean, lived experience is really important because you can relate, and I'm lucky that I have a bit of a profile that I've played rugby league, so people want to hear your story a little bit more, I guess. But I hate doing anything that I'm not good at, and I hate speaking only just on my lived experience and this is what I did and this is how it helped me. But it's not everything. I can only speak from my experience. So and I really want to go down this path. I really enjoy helping people, giving back. Want to learn more about it. So it's like I said earlier, my mum suffers from major depression, so it's something that's been in our family for quite a while. And whether I stay in rugby league and help sports people in the mental health space, or whether I branch out and do something different, I want to just get myself all the tools and understanding that I can to understand what we're really from a lived experience side, so I can relate on both. So I feel like I'll be the best I can possibly be at understanding how to help people from not only my own experiences, but from a data and research standpoint as well.
I think even in part, that's also understanding people, right? I've become obsessed with behavioral science, emotional intelligence, like personality profiling, and knowing that not everybody learns or receives information the same way, and that's just communication. Yeah. So as a leader, that will lend really nicely. You've got the science-backed data and then the lived experience as well. Mate, last couple of questions. Vision for the Iron team, like where is it going? Where do you want it to go? Like, what does it look like for you?
Yeah, it's a hard one. It's like I said, it's something I've been doing for probably 6 or 7 years, and probably rebranded it last year. I just thought it needed a bit of a change. But my wife and I actually have a bit of a business idea we want to get up and running probably early next year, hopefully, in the physical and mental health space combined. So,
yeah, nice.
If that happens, then not so much the Iron team will take a backward step, but it might just be a bit of a side part towards the business. So that's our probably main goal. We've been working on this for probably at least 12 months. So that's probably our main goal and my focus. That's part of what the counselling. I'm doing the diploma of counselling as well to be a part of this business venture. But I'm not really sure. I really enjoy doing the Iron team workshops at the moment, whether it's small at schools or bigger at organisations. It's something that I'm lucky. I've got a job at the Broncos. I do some work there in the mental health space in their community programs. Doing a little bit of coaching stuff. I'm doing some study. Doing some work on the Iron team and some workshops out in corporate world as well. So I'm really enjoying just having a bit of change and challenge in different areas, which is good. But it's a good question. It's a hard one. I don't know where the Iron team will finish, whether it will just be what is right now and it's not something long term, or whether it kind of adds on to the business side. I'm not too sure at the moment.
Yeah. Okay. Mate, you sound pretty hectic, and you've got 3 kids. I'm like, where's the downtime, or is that?
Yeah, I think I really enjoyed my weekends. I've got my weekends back now that I don't play rugby league anymore. Whether it's a Friday night game, you'd still have, or you'd be sore and injured, you might have recovery the next day on a Saturday morning, or if you played on a Saturday or a Sunday, obviously your weekends were gone. And then if you travelled as well, so weekends. Weekends are weekends. Now, I generally have weekends. I haven't had weekends for 15 years, basically. So
yeah, wow.
Definitely. Work's busy and in different ways, and also obviously having the kids is. My eldest has started gymnastics and dancing, and Nippers starts in the summer back down the coast. So there's a lot of things going on, but at the same time, once the weekend comes around, after that, that's my time to just unwind and spend it with family and or friends and do whatever I feel like.
Do you are you able to not watch every single NRL game on the TV, or are you watching everything?
No, I've never. When I was a kid, I used to watch every game, and then when I started playing, I probably fell out of, not so much out of love with it, but I'm chat for another day. But commentary and criticism and critical, commentary and different things, I just can't stand it, to be honest. So I watch Broncos games, and that's all I watch. Otherwise, the finals are on at the moment, so I'll watch the finals games, the big games or State of Origin, things like that. But I always watch the Broncos games because obviously a vested interest. But apart from that, I don't really watch too much football.
Wow, I just had a real penny drop as you said that. I imagine being injured or sitting at home watching my old teammates playing, and then the commentators like not slagging them off, but just criticizing what they're doing, and then you knowing how hard they work in training every single day, like that. Yeah, that must be really frustrating. Is that the reality? Or?
Oh, I think these days, especially with social media, even mainstream media, there's 24/7 talk shows on rugby league now. It's less about they used to always say it's the way from the media getting your story to the fans, the fans knowing more about you. But now it's more about clicks and views and sensationalizing things and how dramatic it can be, and it's all about numbers, and that's what I don't like. And the other part to that is you can be constructive with criticism as well. You can say, look, this person isn't playing their best today, but at their best they do X, Y, and Z. Sure. And there's some of the the wording around people stealing money and disgraceful, and just some of the wording that's used, and then social media, people jump on the bandwagon of that, just go hammer and tong, and you've seen it all year and past. So there's death threats, there's racial abuse, it's just ridiculous. So it's obviously because I work in mental health space and I'm passionate about it, I care about it's very simple, but it comes from, again, the top. It comes from those commentators and leaders and people, the way they word things. Then people in the band in social media and society will just jump on the back of that. So I think a lot of those, and it's probably never going to go anywhere at the end of the day, because it's, again, it rates, it sells. The headline always never matches the actual article in the paper, and that's just the way it is. They want to draw you in to read it, and unfortunately that's just where we are in society today.
Yeah, it's almost like you can't control the millions of people commenting on social media on every single game, so we've got to control how we receive that information from a mindset perspective. Yeah, wow. And that's only going to get worse, or I'm assuming it has got worse over the last few years. Mate, last question. How can businesses, we've obviously got a lot of business owners and entrepreneurs that listen to this show. If they wanted to get you out to deliver the Iron Team programs to their staff members, how can they find you? How can they find out more?
Yeah, just on the website, theironteam.com.au. A couple of guys there that will help, run a chat, and I've got my email there as well. So a couple of us that will more than happy to have a chat and see what the organisation wants, and if we can work together and be a part of it, then more than happy to help.
Amazing, mate. Amazing. Thank you for your time. So much vulnerability, value, insight, honesty, like the journey that you've been on. I'm sure, well, you're not alone with that. And I know a lot of people listening will have taken so much for it. For everybody that was listening, if you enjoyed that episode and you want to find out more, from the Swish Show podcast itself, you can find that on Apple and Spotify. If you want to join our free Facebook group, Sales with Integrity, we've got free training in there every single week as well. Darius, pleasure, mate. Thank you very much. Appreciate you.
All right. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Cheers, bud. All right, mate. I'll stop that there. And I'll just stop. Okay, awesome. How's that, mate? All right. Nothing too intrusive.
Yeah, no, it's easy, mate. Thank you. That's good.
Nice, easy one for you. Mate, there's a few things you said in there that really got me thinking. Just of how we work with like living, and I'm just respectful of your time. So we work with living, and what we've built out with, or we're building out with those guys. And do you know Luke, the psychologist? Luke Foster?
Don't know him, but I think I've seen him on LinkedIn or something, possibly. Yeah, I don't know him though personally.
So he's building out some like content for our online programs. And what we also do is, like, I've built out, I call it my Swish roundtable, for want of a better phrase, which is basically a lot of consultants or advisors that are in our network. And when we've got a business that approaches us and says, hey, Ryan, not necessarily sales training, but we'd like someone to talk about marketing or recruitment or mental health or performance. And we just go, hey, Darius, we've got a company here. They're looking for somebody, and we just hand them over to you. That'd be a nice little value added. I mean, I don't know if you want clients. I know you said it's not really a focus with the other business right now, but if you wanted corporates, I feel like what you've been talking about there is perfect for some of our bigger clients. Well, not necessarily bigger clients, just some of our clients. So I don't know if you.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to. Yeah, I'm happy to do whatever, mate. If there's something that I love presenting and doing all that stuff. I was just more saying it's probably something that because I love doing it. It's just the team. When you asked me, oh, where's it heading? I was like, it's a good question. It's kind of.
Yeah.
I then said to my wife, it's like, oh, I don't know if it's long term. Purely because what we're going to do is probably taking that over a bit. If that was still, if the team was still there as a side part to the business, then that's great. But I suppose it's my way before this business gets up and running. It's my way of still, giving back, doing the workshops and being a part of it without kind of just waiting 12 months or 2 years and not doing anything, So, but I love doing it, and the more the merrier, to be honest, because it's what I love doing. So, yeah, definitely appreciate it. If there's any opportunities there, then.
How long are the workshops?
It depends. The main one we run is probably 3 hours. Okay. Otherwise, I do 25, 30-minute ones as well. Just a very basic, awesome. More like, more about my story, some brief, self-care strategies, tips and about resilience, resources, things. Otherwise, the longer ones more around, I spoke about before, like teamwork, culture, like leadership, some interactive components as well. Yeah, so it kind of just depends on what the company organization really after, and then we're going to match it up and go from there, I guess.
Yeah, nice. So just so you're aware, when we do like a business diagnostic, and we get a full kind of scope of their industry, the amount of staff, what their challenges are, then you can do it in many different facets, but we do the majority of ours on Zoom for obvious reasons these days. But if you wanted to go face to face, obviously you can still do that. Are you doing it via Zoom, or are you going?
Oh no, most of face to face if can be.
Like
I did one that. Yeah, well, that's obviously the problem. Yeah, it's only in Queensland, but that's the hardest thing, I guess, with the mental health side of things. It's just most of it's. I like it to be. It's more genuine and realistic if it's face to face and just in person. But I mean, I did one the other day. It was actually televised. Oh, sorry, it was recorded through. Is that the Gold Coast? Actually, I think Livin used some of the. It was in Burleigh. Some of the what's it called? The studios there. They do some of their workshops. They're recording their
not the White Horse Studios or something, is it out there?
I'm not sure. I was told that Livin used it anyway. Did some for Hastings Deering. They wanted to just play it on Are You OK Day.
Oh yeah.
So instead of me going out and obviously logistically trying to get out to all their workforces all across Queensland, I just recorded my workshop for a half an hour workshop. Yeah. They played at Are You OK Day through their whole business. So that was challenging. It was different, trying to present to a screen, it was different, but it's still the same messaging's there, but I feel like it's always better off face to face and in person if possible.
Yeah, it's taken me. I used to hate the camera. I used to hate the stage. Like I've invested hundreds of thousands of dollars in public speaking training to actually enjoy it, because I'm more of an introvert by nature. But and then to speak to a camera with no crowd, nothing behind you, like on my whiteboard here. It's taken me a couple of years to get used to it. We've actually the only reason I asked that is like you talk about building the other business on the side, and this becoming a bit of a almost a side part with the Iron team. Like creating legacy content has just been so good for a lot of our partners, and obviously for us as well, because we've got thousands of people in our online training now that I don't even have to be there. And what we've been able to do is kind of just mix up the delivery style, mixing with the cameras. We've got like animations that come in and assessments, and we've still been able to get the same content delivered, even in the mental health space, with it via digital. I still prefer physical training, obviously for obvious reasons, just because I get out of it. But if you want us to say, hey, Darius, I've got somebody that's looking for some training, and you want us to just put you as like an addition on our program of like, we can add what's the program's called? Just like if there's a few different programs, do you know what I mean?
No, it's just the Iron Team workshop.
Okay, cool.
But it's just kind of more so just depending on how long they have or what their kind of their avenue is, or we need to work on teamwork, or we need to work on more resilience, then we'll kind of tailor it towards whatever they kind of are after, I guess. But we just between half an hour and 3 hours, then it just really depends on what's needed, I guess.
Okay, cool. Well, like I said, I want to be cautious of your time, so I'll shoot you an email after this anyway, because I know for a fact, like after just speaking with you and hearing a bit more about your story, I didn't know the depths of it, to be fair. and knowing our businesses and what they're looking for, especially since COVID, the majority of things that we're getting asked for is mindset training, which is quite ironic for a sales company. And I'm not a psychologist. I don't want to be. I want to stay in my lane. So if I can just pull in some experts that are, especially if you've got your credibility and lived experience, I think it would serve very well. And then all we do is just whatever your rate is, we just pay your rate and we just plug you into them. Basically, it's good value to us and hopefully puts the right companies in front of you as well.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm more than happy to help if there's any opportunities. So.
Yeah. Okay, mate. Well, I'll send you an email over later on today or over the next couple of days. Mate, thanks. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you. It's all good. Sorry, I cancelled the day. Just bloody kids and timings and things. And then I was like, school holidays today too. I was like, oh my God, just crazy, but all good. So
I don't. Well, my kids are too young for me to really be aware of school holidays just yet. All I know is Pirate Day today. That's all I knew. So my boy's gone to kindy with nail varnish and an eye patch and all that.
Do
you get down to the Gold Coast much still?
I try to. My mum's still down there. And like I said, my eldest one, she's just turned 6, so she started nippers last year at Currawa.
Oh yeah.
So we have a little one, just a 1-bedroom apartment at Broadbeach. So we try to get down there and stay there a bit. And then once nippers starts, we try to stay down there a bit. And because we're obviously down there most Sundays for nippers,
nice.
Which is nice. It's just good to, I mean, I love Brisbane, and I think there's a lot of opportunities in Brisbane, like work-wise, and obviously I've got the Bronx and whatever. But it's great to just get back down to the beach and just go for a walk, go for a swim, have a coffee. It's quite, as you know, therapeutic, relaxing, just to be on the water and just kind of get away from work and have a bit of time out to yourself or the family. It's nice. So we try to get down a fair bit.
I like in a weird sort of way, I like having conversations with people that have been through a lot of stress, and I hope that comes across the right way. I've had this business for 7 years now, and I've got me and my wife own a hair salon as well. I had another business that I exited, and I don't really take that downtime enough. Like I moved over from the UK in 2010 as an engineer and not wanting to go back into engineering, and because I wanted to be near the beach, I wanted to be in the sun, and then I locked myself away in this dark studio like all week, and it's all very counterproductive. So like every time I have one of these conversations, it just reinstills into me that I've got to have that self-care, I guess, for want of a better phrase. So
we all get busy, and it's not until someone, a family member passes away and I should have seen them more, I should have made the effort, it's all something big happens that you go, you need to be proactive with that stuff. It's like everyone's busy and we all understand that, but it's like sometimes the simplest things in life are the best and biggest. So 100%. And you're the most important end of the day. It's if you're not well, then if you don't function well, then neither is your wife or your kids aren't going to be as happy if you're not the best you are. So I say this to my wife all the time, and she sometimes thinks I'm taking the piss a little bit. And I was like, I've got to do this because it's good for me and my mental health, whether that's catching up with a mate or going to the beach, or I need to go to the gym, whatever it is. But that's good for me and what I need, to be the best version of me. And that's going to be better for everyone around me, So
I'm very practical in the way that I think. And as you said that, I'm like, I'm going to make a good for me list. What is good for me, and how much of that do I actually instill in my day-to-day life? And it's pretty sparse, and I need to. One of the
interactive parts we do is called the perfect day. So it's about writing down your perfect day, and you can think about it while I'm talking about this. But writing down your perfect day, what's that look like? And then once you've got it down from when you wake up to brekkie till you go to bed at night, what does that look like? Okay, once you've got it written down, how often can I do those things? Every day, every week, every month, and then trying to put that in part of your routine. So if you like to walk the dog, or if you like to take the kids to the park, or if you like to have a coffee with a mate, how often can you do that? Can you do that every Wednesday? Can you do it 3 times a week? Is it every once a month? You date night with your wife to get away from the kids and have some one-on-one time. As part of that thing, it's like that. It's being proactive with your mental health, because it's practice the things that you like, self-care strategies. And it's just like, okay, that's what I love to do. Let's bring some hope and enjoyment back to my life by doing them as much as possible, And so it's what you just said about doing like a me day or whatever it is, but it's just a good way to kind of remember what you enjoy, and then okay, well, that's what I enjoy. Life's about enjoying it. So and being the best version of yourself. So let's do that as often as I can.
That'd be an awesome session. If you we'll get you down here to do that with our team, I reckon. If you wanted to come down to.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
That'd be because I talk about it, but not in like as like succinct as that, because I kind of always veer towards like a sales coaching conversation. But ultimately, I want my team to I want them to love being here as well and enjoy what they're doing. And I know there's parts of every role in every business that are tough and a bit monotonous.
Yeah.
How can they make sure they get a little bit of sunlight or time with their dog or the kids, whatever, every day? Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
All right, mate. Well,
cool.
I'll shoot you over an email. Have yourself an awesome week with the kids for the rest of the week.
Yeah, thanks, mate. We'll do. Thanks for having me again. Appreciate it.
Cheers, buddy.
See you, mate. Bye.